like approaching 900 episodes or whatever we're at right now, 890, whatever it is, that like we'd start the show and it would just be like, all right, cool, here's we go. And I just like, every week I'm like, what do I say?
Yep. Yep.
So I guess here's another show.
Yeah.
Of Outside the Cinema, your weekly source for cult movie discussion. We're your hosts, Bill and Chris. We're likable guys. I think. Now, currently. But yeah, so hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's making the best of their bad situations if they're in one. And for some reason they're not in one, you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
We're all fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I learned this week that tampon strings make really good wicks and brandy's flammable.
You learned that this week.
I guess I learned to put those two together this week.
Yes.
What I'm saying. Just saying stuff.
It's a fair point, man.
Yeah.
It's a fair point. This week on the show, Patreon. Are you on our Patreon? If you are, thanks. We really appreciate it. It's the only reason we can still do the show at this point. And if you're not, think about it. Right? Think about it.
Yeah.
This week.
But then what? After thinking about it, then what?
Then sign up.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Sign up.
There you go.
That
crucial piece of information.
Patreon.com/outside the cinema. But yeah, you could be just like our good friend Matt, who is programming the show this week. Mm-hmm. Matt says, hey! Exclamation point. So I guess I should have said it like, hey!
Oh, yeah.
Hey! Hope you are doing well. I am a longtime listener and occasional contributor and have had a couple of movie picks to suggest for the show. One I have wanted you to cover for a while and never had a second film to suggest until Joe started covering the Mummy series. So number one is 1986's Vamp.
Okay.
This is a favorite 80s horror comedy of mine, although I have not seen it in a while and would love to know yours and Chris's opinion on it. Well, you know what, Matt? We're going to give it to you.
Yeah.
Number two, 1998, Deep Rising. This is the pre-Mummy Stephen Sommers B-movie monster flick, and for me, it's pretty good. I don't believe you have covered it, or either of these, so apologizes if you have. We have not, until today.
We haven't.
Cheers, guys. Matt from the UK. Big shout out from Matt to the UK for suggesting the films, and also not picking two so inherently British flicks that we're just confused by everything that's being said on screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is nice. But yeah, so no, Vamp is a cult classic, certified by me. I don't know. Is there like an official certification?
You have the ability, I know.
Was there like an official certification board for like what's like? Do you have to like submit it?
Hey, we could start that. It's easy.
Yeah, it's called Buy a Copy of Survival of the Film Freaks, or watch it on Tubi. Or you can watch it on Amazon. You do have to purchase a digital copy on Amazon. Because Amazon does not like independent filmmakers putting their stuff into their system.
No.
Which is bullshit.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. Once Bezos gets eaten, everything will be fine.
Who's he going to get eaten by?
Hungry people.
The weight of his own ego?
Hungry people.
Hungry Hungry people.
Hungry for justice.
But yeah, Survival of the Film Freaks being the cult film documentary that I made a few years ago.
Yes.
Makes me personally appointed czar of all the certifications for whether it's a cult film or not. I think. So yeah, I say Vamp is a certified Bill by Force cult classic, which I had also not seen in quite a long time. When's the last time you watched it?
I don't know if I ever watched it all the way through, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Grace Jones kind of freaked me out when I was young.
Freaks me out now.
Because of the way she is when she does her not progressive, it's performative art stuff. Like there's just something about like the persona that people take on that it's like really intense, and it makes me uncomfortable, I guess.
Oh, I hear you. I get that for sure.
It's just a weird thing, but I really like her in the James Bond thing. I like her music, and especially Conan the Destroyer. They just it feels like they just let her loose on the set and was like, just don't stab anybody with this stick we just gave you. And she went, ha, and swung it around her head a whole bunch of times, and they're like, fucking film it. Here we go.
I feel like that's Grace Jones, though. Like, in general, you're just gonna put her out there and be like, all right, whatever happens. Let's hope it goes well.
I appreciate her weirdness.
Yeah, and she's still that weird. Like,
yeah,
still. That
I
weird.
remember when she showed up. I think it was the Christmas show for Pee Wee Herman. Wasn't she delivered in a box?
Something like yeah, it was.
Yeah. She was. I was trying to explain to my kids who she was before she showed up on screen, because she's so unusual looking in this. Like you wouldn't necessarily know it was her at first, and so I'm trying to describe her, and I'm like, I sound like a lunatic describing his delusions. But I'm like, you know what? Good for her. That's an interesting fucking career if that's what you can do.
I agree. Let's just get into Vamp then. Let me get the trailer up here. We'll just get right into it.
I found a kid who's...
Nope, that's not the right thing. Hang on. Stupid.
Okay.
No, it's friggin' this isn't this one ain't on me. This one's on my old ass friggin' Apple iPad. I don't know why I said it like that.
Did you ever have one of those nights? Hey, where are we going? Doesn't matter. What counts is that you're my buddy. My day didn't start off too well.
We be looking for ya.
Are we jumpy tonight?
And then it got worse.
We're here.
And then...
Gentlemen, I give you Katrina.
You're just what I'm looking for. Why'd you pick on us?
It was a mistake. It was a little error there, a little communication error. I'm sorry.
Uh-oh. Let's just get out of here. This is not really happening.
Hello, baby.
God, you look awful. What happened to you?
I was nearly hung. I got into a fight with a psychotic albino. I hit a cockroach, my best friend disappears, and then I'm nearly assassinated by a runaway elevator. Anyone can have an off night. This is fantastic!
Vamp, a comedy with bite. And of course, Grace Jones.
Why is that an of course? Because you just saw her, right?
Right,
I
but
didn't see anything.
I think the whole point of that is even back then, Grace Jones was this just oddity.
Yeah, it was, I got to go see what she's going to do.
And it was like you couldn't help but be enthralled by her.
Yeah.
Like, not like in like a freak show sort of way. There was like, it's just, she has, I shouldn't even say has this insane aura about her.
Yeah.
And it's incredible when it's on screen. So this also stars Chris Makepeace, who was also in Meatballs and My Bodyguard and a bunch of that stuff. He's a pretty well-known character actor from the time period. He plays Keith. His best friend AJ is played by Robert Russler, who's also been in obviously Weird Science, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Thrashin'. Sometimes they come back. Like, this is I want to say almost like an all-star B-movie cast, if you will. Giri Watanabe as Duncan. Obviously, he's best known
as Ken Jeong. Is that what you said?
As Ken Jeong? No, as not as
literally. I would bet that Ken pulled 90% of his character from Community and The Hangover from this dude in this movie right here.
Maybe, but he's the best known as Long Duck Dong from 16 Candles, and he was also Cooney in UHF, which, again, as we said, all-star cast. And, of course, the classic Sandy Barron, who's been in a million things over the years, multiple films covered by us. He is an OTC Hall of Famer, I would say. Grifters, Sid and Nancy, Leprechaun 2, Motorama, spots in lots of TV shows, Seinfeld, FBI, Untold Stories, Law and Order, Munsters. I mean, the guy's a legend. The guy's a legend. And of course, this is also, I didn't even bring up the director, Richard Wenk, the director, worked on a bunch of stuff over the years, still currently works. There's a lot of writing. He wrote, I believe, and did the story for The Expendables, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe the sequel.
Okay.
Also did the screenplay and story for Kraven the Hunter. We don't need to talk about that, though. Hey, what are you doing, dog?
Well, I mean, if he wrote the original, who knows what happened after that?
That's true. But yeah, he works a lot of does a lot of writing. Hey, shut up! You can see him, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just in the window.
Yeah. His tail's half wagging. He's protecting, but he wants to play.
Yeah. Weirdo. Anyway, so Vamp is a pretty simple story. In terms of it's actually, have you seen From Dusk Till Dawn?
Yeah.
It's actually not far off, right? Starts off, your boys, Keith and AJ are trying to get into a frat house. They're doing these weird initiation things, which I wish I could say is not what happens, but from everything I've seen, it is.
Well, back then it did happen a lot, and there were weird ceremonies and shit that got reported. But then it just turned into how much can you drink and not die?
Or die.
Well, yeah, that's the challenge. If you don't die, you're in. If you die,
you're not in.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's a series on, I think ID or Discovery, one of those two, that's like a true crime series, and it is all just about deaths related to sororities and fraternities.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Be dangerous.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What people do to these pledges, and then after they something really bad happens, try to cover it up.
Yeah, it's basically the real life or real world using the Stanford prison experiment as a basis. You put a bunch of dopes in charge that want to hurt people, they're going to do it. Not that that's ever happened today, yesterday, or since January 19, whatever. It doesn't matter. People will hurt people if they can get something out of it. And those people need their tattoos covered up.
Yeah.
With about 8 feet of dirt.
Yep. Yep. Maybe a slab of concrete.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to really cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting back to the film Vamp. These two buddies are pledging to this fraternity, but they're AJ's a smartass and basically flips it on them because he's like, this is stupid. He's like, what? You guys just want to party and you're over here doing these fake horror movie ceremonies.
Right. And the thing that seemed to piss him off was the fact that the tape glitched.
Yep.
And that was it. The makeup was pretty good on the neck, all that stuff. And yeah, but I really identified with the smartass part of these people because I'm like, I'd be dead. If this was a real life situation, I would just smart mouth my way into a bullet.
Yep. Or a beating.
Probably both, honestly. I can't help myself sometimes.
So basically these two are like, listen, we'll get you hooked up for a party. What do you guys want? And they basically say they want to get them a stripper for the big frat party.
Yep.
So they need to find a way to get a stripper. They don't have a car. They hit up Long Duck Dong, and they're like, he's kind of got a lot of money, but he's an outcast, doesn't really have any friends because he's a fucking weirdo.
Oh, it's easy. He's Elon Musk.
Without the hateful stuff.
No, people still won't be his friend. He's a horrible misogynist. So,
oh yeah, good point.
There you go. He is right now. Watanabe's character is basically fucking giggity. What's his name?
Quagmire.
Yeah.
Quagmire.
He's Quagmire. He's every horny teenager from every 80s movie rolled into this one character to the third power.
Not wrong.
Like, really, some inappropriate, well, they're all inappropriate, but like just bad pickup lines.
That's 80s though.
Yeah, that's all the self-help things and how to hit on women and none of that all rolled into this red pill bullshit and incels, and none of that shit works. It's easy. Be nice to people, listen to them, and fucking bathe yourself.
Yes. Bathing is a huge thing.
People will start talking to you if you're just generally pleasant.
We went to a show the other night up in Maine. We went to see Coheed and Cambria and Mastodon.
Oh,
and
nice.
Show was great.
Yeah.
Smelled terrible. Listen, if you're a fan of the band Mastodon, that's cool. They're a good band.
Mm-hmm.
Take a shower before you go to the show.
Yeah, and after is good. Like,
I'm not going to see you afterwards.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be out in public, like, I'm not trying to, like, hate on anyone or anything, but, like, show some care about those around you.
Yeah, that's where we are now, though. Nobody does.
That's true.
It's
Anyway.
all about, I got mine, fuck you.
All right. Anyway, back to the movie. All right. So these two team up with Duncan, Getty Watanabe, Long Duck Dong. They're going to borrow his car, and the deal that they work is basically like he'll let them use their car as long as they're friends with him for a week.
Yeah.
So they go out and about and try to find like where they're going to find strippers, but apparently their college is in kind of like the middle of nowhere. So they got to go
middle
like
of nowhere, L.A.
I know, right?
Like you saw that famous bridge in the back of two of the shots.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do?
Not say it's in L.A. or say it's in L.A. and say every place is closed. I mean, come on.
So they run into Billy Drago and his gang of hooligans, and Billy Drago is supposed to be a albino character. They get his face painted white and his hair painted white. And they kind of like rough up with them, get away from them, and then we get to the strip club.
Well, he's a nice red herring because you go into this knowing it's about vampires. You can't help that. And he shows up and like Billy Drago, black hair, very gaunt, like, but here he's got white hair, so like a corpse, and you're thinking, oh shit, this is the weakest fucking group of vampires I've ever seen in my life.
I know, man.
But I didn't have to be mad about that the whole movie.
No, because they weren't vampires.
No, I was very happy about that. That was one of the nice things about this movie in the beginning was like a bunch of misdirection, which is good. So somebody knows the tropes and they're gonna play with them a little.
Yeah, we should also say Billy Drago is another kind of like OTC like Hall of Famer because he's been in so
I'm gonna
many
be
things
honest
that we've
though.
covered.
This is the only movie where he hasn't creeped me out to no end because he looks creepy and he's supposed to be.
Right. Yeah, no, it works
Normally,
very well.
he's just like on screen in The Untouchables, and you're like, oh shit, I think he's going to kill my kids when they're born. He's an intimidating stare.
Oh, yeah.
He's a favorite of mine.
I'm a big fan of Billy Drago.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they get into a tussle with them and then are able to get away. And they end up at the strip club. There's a couple of other things that happen, but it don't matter.
Yeah, it's because it's part not really sex comedy because these two aren't looking to get laid like your typical one, but it's the day in the life. It's like, one night with. So it's a little more absurd than After Hours, and I think I like the characters more.
Right. Do you think that when Tarantino and Rodriguez were working to do From Dusk Till Dawn, how heavily do you think they pulled from this? Because it's really very, very similar. The difference is rather than it being a crime thing at the beginning, they're on a quest to get this stripper, but the film starts very much sex comedy. These guys are gone on a quest to get there. They end up in a place where they think it's one thing, and then after about 30 minutes of the film, it turns into something completely different, just like From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, but think about this too. It goes from like sort of for the people that made it, a lighthearted crime comedy, like quipping back and forth, and then in the middle it gets really serious, and then at the end it gets ridiculous again. That's the same way this movie is too. Yeah, I think obviously Tarantino had this foremost in his head.
No doubt.
Because I'm going to say he came up with the idea for the whole thing.
So,
and you know what though? Unlike some of the other stuff that he's done, I would actually give this one kind of I wouldn't, you changed it enough.
Yeah.
So
I'd say definitely inspired by is probably the word to use for it.
yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that. So they get into the club and they're doing the thing. Long Duck Dong is being Long Duck Dong. Sandy Barron is Vic. He plays the guy that's like the manager of the club, and he goes to card them, but then sees they got a bunch of money with them or whatever, so they are able to come in.
I did like that.
Yeah, I did too. And right away, one of the waitresses recognizes Chris McPeace's character and is like, "You don't remember me?" And he's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." But she very definitely knows him. So there's this whole thing of like, what's their connection?
Also, she was the only hometown girl stripper in that whole place.
Well, she wasn't a stripper. She was just a waitress.
No, I know, but she's in a strip club, so I just generalized. But like,
wow, way to generalize.
I know, because it's
way to marginalize the sex worker community.
They're actors in this, so so she looked innocent as opposed to all the other ones that look like they came in from strip clubs because, like, I'm just going to hire people that know what they're doing, so I don't have to direct them. She stuck out like a sore thumb, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, she looked like a normal human being.
Yeah, she wasn't made up to look like how you would. Yeah,
no, she's made up to look cute.
Yeah,
not sultry, cute.
And
whereas the girls that are dancing are made to be very, very, very stripper. I mean, that's
yeah. There's an element of toughness to it.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, she's made so like when you see her, you instantly know like that visual language that my kids and I've been talking about a lot about how you just tell that you don't have to do anything, you don't have to say anything if you do it right.
Right. Exactly.
Sometimes.
Exactly. So Grace Jones's character of Katrina is the centerpiece of this club. We've learned that she's the owner of the club, and she also comes out and does this very crazy Selma Hayek-esque, over-the-top, arty striptease dance.
Yeah.
She comes out, her face is all painted white, and then she's got all these things drawn all over her body.
By Keith, what's his name? Harrington? The artist that did the you remember the Christmas albums?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That guy. He painted the mannequin that was a life cast of Dolph Lundgren. And he painted her because Keith and Grace were like really good friends. I was reading about.
Yeah. But it's a very cool scene because it's like super sexual, but also like super arty, a little bit pretentious. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. But it all just works for what her character is supposed to be. Like everyone is supposed to just like jaw on the floor, overblown by what's happening here, and just being like, this is like the most amazing thing. And so immediately after the dance, AJ is like, she's the one we need to get for the party.
Which I don't understand because I didn't find anything sensual. I found it kind of aggressive and threatening. But then again, I have knowledge of what the movie's about.
Right.
So
it's very much a Venus flytrap thing.
Oh, absolutely.
But where it's like to lure you in. That little bit of aggression and that little bit of anger mixed with the sensuality of it is going to draw you in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't comfortable to watch, but I was interested to see what movement she was going to do next.
Can't take your eyes off it though.
No.
Like you don't know what to make of it, but you know you want to watch it.
Yep.
So AJ goes to the back with one of the girls there to meet Katrina, and this is where the movie flips itself from sex comedy to, honestly, I mean, it's played, as you said earlier, pretty straight horror for the next until like the very end.
Well,
I mean, there's moments.
Mostly, yeah. The comedy does come back though.
Right.
But it does go straight into erotic vampire for longer than it needed to, I think. But this is the 80s, so that was not long enough, according to the studio.
Correct. So we learn that Grace Jones does not want to do anything with him that he's interested in. And there's this kind of cool little, like, her, like, not necessarily transformation, but when she vamps up, eyes go white, the teeth come down, she gets this, like, almost snake-like feel to her.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Yeah. They did some... The good thing about vampires is if you follow at least one of the traditional rules, you can do whatever you want with the rest of them. Which I always liked. It's like, oh, sunlight doesn't work on these, but garlic will. Only garlic, or only roses, or crossing running water. Because if you change everything and you don't keep, like, crucifix or whatever as a weakness, then is it actually a vampire? No, it's just a ghoul at that point, or a fucking human chupacabra. Yeah. What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
It's a vampire. That's what a human chupacabra is.
Fair enough.
The fuck am I talking about?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I have at work tonight, we have a special event that I've been working on. I actually have a credit in the movie, which I'm pretty happy about.
Dope.
But it's a lot of work for me tonight, pausing, jumping around in this playlist and cueing spotlights and microphones because I'm on audio, video, and the projector all at the same time. So I'm a little nervous about getting this one right. I'm not going to have a problem, but I just get super nervous and then I talk a lot. So that's what's going on with me today.
That's fine. Good thing we're doing a podcast.
I know. And I realized last week, too, when I got really talkative and weird and laughing at my own shit, it was about a half hour after I took my pills, which I'm going to take right now.
All right, cool. So the next review,
I forgot to.
The next review should be crazy then. Anyway, getting back to Vamp, though. So she vamps out, she eats AJ, boom, and now we're off. Now,
pretty gory. I'll give it that.
Yeah,
the
not
effect
bad.
Was more than I anticipated.
Yeah, not bad. So now we learn that pretty much the whole club, with the exception of Dee Dee Pfeiffer's character, they're all vampires. We learn that it's her first night, which is why she's not a vampire yet.
Yep.
And we learn that they have this whole ecosystem of, like, you know, bringing in the transients and taking the transients and feeding off of them. And there's all these different little things going on within the club. But then we also learn that outside of the club in the area is mostly all vampires as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a lot.
I didn't even question that. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah, right. And then they basically made the mistake because they thought that AJ was there by himself, but then they find out that he's there with the other character, or the other two characters, and now they're like, well, fuck, now we got to kill all three of them.
Right.
And it doesn't go the way that they want it to, and then you get the whole chase sequences and trying to get away and all these different things that come up.
Yeah. What I don't understand is why they just didn't drive completely away, but I probably missed something.
Well, they didn't know. The thing was, they didn't know that AJ was dead. They were trying to find him.
Right. For a while they were, and then, yeah. So, right.
Because then they do get in the car and try to drive away, but that's when we realized that the whole town is vampires.
Yeah, that truck hit that car really hard.
It did.
Yeah.
So, another interesting piece of this, though, is that it's visually pretty interesting to look at. There's kind of a couple like Hitchcock ripoff frames that come up, and the lighting is very Italian-esque, very Bava, pinks and blues.
Creep show kind of comic book feel, right?
Right, yeah. So it gives the film an interesting look. The one place that I thought would have a really interesting look that doesn't is inside the strip club.
Yeah.
It's very plain.
That has to be on purpose because they go down in the sewers and it's pink and green down there.
Right. Just something I noticed. I don't know.
I think maybe that was to be like, we're a legitimate human business. Look at us.
I love girls volleyball.
Yeah. If you made it weird, would normal people go there? like you got to keep the buffet going and all the normal stuff that people expect, or you're not going to get word of mouth from the people that don't leave. I don't know.
I would say more stuff works in this than doesn't. It's not perfect. It's very campy in points, almost to a point of like shake your head type of camp stuff.
It did give me a few good, oh, I'm surprised that was funny kind of things. But then I'm like, no, these are decent actors, decent comedic actors. Also, Chris Makepeace, at first I said, oh, look, it's Timu Mel Gibson. And then I watched more of the movie and I'm like, no, I apologize to him. He is 5% off Mel Gibson because he's a good actor. And he looked like Mel Gibson, like right before he would have done Mad Max.
Right.
I don't know why he didn't like get bigger. Also, the other guy, he was good too.
Well, he was in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but he was also like the guy you call when you can't get George Clooney. Right? He's a handsome guy.
Yeah, I guess.
He's got a young ER George Clooney thing going on. I'm surprised these two weren't like huge megastars because Chris pulls off this aw shucks kind of personality, but like with an inner strength that really works. But he's also got that Mel Gibson goofy, I'm gonna pretend I don't know what I'm doing, so you tell me shit you shouldn't.
Yeah,
So,
Chris Makepeace, he stopped working in Hollywood back in like 2001. So
Yeah,
he hasn't done anything. The last film he did was something called Full Disclosure, which I'm not familiar with. Got Fred Ward and Christopher Plummer in it. Penelope Ann Miller.
okay.
But he hasn't done anything since then. So I don't know whether he would start in another business or what. But
yes, I mean it's a job, so you can just be like, I don't like my boss now, so I'm not gonna go to work.
Yeah, maybe. But
that's
Robert
too
Russler
bad.
has worked consistently, and if I'm not mistaken, he's still working. Yeah, he's got 2024, 2022, 2021. Yeah. So he's still working.
Well, if either of them ever hear this, I liked what you guys did.
Yeah, they did a good job. They worked really well off each other, and I really liked Russler doing himself as a vampire, but also still like with the wit and the like swarmy charm that he has.
Yeah, they really made it out that these two were equals. One was the slower logical thinker, and the other one is the impetuous, let's go have a good time, and they balanced each other out. But real early on with the bow and arrow and the apple, that shows, I was saying to Rip, because she's interested in playwriting, she's been writing stuff. I said, this scene where they're talking about something else, but they're showing you this. They're showing you how in tune and on the same page these two are, because he sits down, he puts the apple down, they're talking, kid shoots it in half, he tosses him the other half of the apple. Nothing spoken about it at all. And it's just, okay, that's it, you know. My guys are, my dudes are best friends and they have each other's back.
Yeah.
And they really played on that. And I thought that the whole story benefited from showing that strength, because otherwise you're just waiting for one of them to betray the other one. And I wasn't waiting for that this time, which was a nice thing to have as a change.
So let's just, before we grade, let's just again talk about Grace Jones.
Yeah.
Best known, she was a model first, right? She was a runway model, I think.
I don't know how she started, but runway model, musician. Let me look.
She was
now
on.
I want to know.
I got it right here. Moved to New York, signed as a model with Willahema Models, but her looks weren't successfully received. She moved to Paris, France, where her androgynous, bold, dark-skinned appearance was so highly visible she began to model for Yves Saint Laurent, Claude Montana, and more. So yeah. But I mean, she's probably best known for View to a Kill and Conan.
Yeah, not Boomerang with Eddie Murphy.
No, not Boomerang. Not Boomerang.
Okay.
But she's a force, and she's not in this much. Like, she's billed as one of the main stars, but she's really not in it that much. She does the dance scene. She kills.
I mean, about as much as Alec Guinness was in Star Wars, to be honest. Like, special guest star almost.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, different, but...
Oh, yeah, of course.
But she only has to show up like 3 or 4 times. And it works. And again, she's just, there's something about her look is just super engaging that you're just like, what is happening here? But yeah, all right, let's give it a grade.
Okay.
Chris, do you recommend what's your grade for 1986's Vamp?
Okay. I'm going to recommend this, but I am going to say that this is something I've never noticed about a movie. The first act and the second act, first act and the third act, I thought were pretty solid and had a lot of good inner character dialogue that was snappy and quick, and not a lot of stupid like retreading. Where do I know you from? Like, just enough where you're like, okay, she's not using her real name, whatever. The middle part, when it turned into a 20-minute sex scene, felt totally out of place. Like, it started off feeling like Regina from Fright Night 2. And then it just is like, all right, just, are we showing penetration? What is happening? So if you can make it through the middle, I think it's rewarding for the beginning and the end.
Okay.
So I'm going to give it a B+ because honestly, I loved the beginning and the end. And the middle isn't bad enough for me to hate the whole thing, because there is a lot of exposition and stuff in there, but the sex scene between the two, is it me or was it just long?
Felt longer than it needed to be.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Not like
that's
crazy
my only
amount,
complaint.
just enough to make you question it.
Yeah. That's it. There you go. B+, B. Yeah, B+.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to recommend it too. In like the realm of vampire films, it feels different. It doesn't really feel, despite the fact that we said that like From Dusk Till Dawn is very much inspired by this, it doesn't feel like a lot of other films. It's different, and Grace Jones as that main vampire in it sets it apart because she's such a unique force on screen. And that alone is worth watching. So yeah, I'll recommend that. I do agree with you that I think the middle of the film does kind of lag a little bit. Little too much kind of running around, little too much trying to figure out, things. But I think overall it doesn't hurt the film. So it's good, not great, but absolutely still worth a watch. And I'll give it a B. So, and it's been a long time since I've seen this. And I was glad to rewatch it. So it wasn't like one of those ones where like sometimes I'm dreading rewatching something. This is like, no, I haven't seen that in years. Yeah, that'll be cool to watch.
I think I got this in the same place in my head as Lair of the White Worm.
Well, the vampires it's like the snake-like similarities for sure.
Yeah. So like, I thought it was that tone through the whole thing. I didn't know this was a comedy. So that surprised me, and I was like more into it at that point. So
okay, well that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of good, maybe. How about Deep Rising?
No one has survived to tell them what happened on this ship.
There's something down here!
Now, the only question is,
they're wiping us out one at a time.
Who's next? Deep Rising.
There you go. Deep Rising.
Yep. I had this confused with Deep Star 6 for about a day.
Would you stop?
He's just talking about how much he loves Peter Weller. Leviathan.
Well, yeah, there was the run. There was Leviathan, Deep Star 6, Deep Rising, Deep Impact.
The Abyss.
The Abyss. All kind of like around this. And you said that too, and I was like, I think he's thinking of Deep Star 6.
I was.
So, but you got Treat Williams, Famke Jensen, Anthony Heald, Kevin O'Connor, Wes Studi, Derek O'Connor, Jason Fleming, Cliff Curtis. These are all guys that when you see them, you'll be like, oh, hey, that guy.
Yeah. And if you've been doing the show as long as us, you were like, saying their names.
Pretty much, yeah.
We know them all. Or if you don't know their names, you at least know the lines from the movies that, you're like, where do I know him from?
Yeah. All right, so Stephen Sommers, as we had said earlier, and one of the reasons it was brought to us is because he did the original Mummy movie and he did the Mummy Returns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he's directed not a ton of stuff, but he actually directed Terror Eyes, which is a film we covered on the show way back. Which I only know that because I recognize the cover and that it's on this list of OTC things here.
Oh, okay.
That was a frustrated advertising executive is confused to receive a job assigning her boss to write the screenplay to a horror film. Recruiting the help of her friends, a weekend camping expedition becomes the forum for each of them to share their scariest stories. All right.
Huh.
Okay.
I don't know.
But he also did Jungle Book, the live action Jungle Book. He did as we said, the two Mummy films, and he also did Van Helsing.
Yeah. I remember how huge everybody thought that was going to be.
Yep. Oh, he also did the G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra.
Was that the second one?
I think that was the second one. Oh, no, it's the first one. It's the first one.
That one wasn't so good.
No, the second one was all right, though.
Yeah. Once they embraced the kind of campiness of the whole G.I. Joe thing,
yeah,
then they were doing all right. Yeah.
So Steve Summers knows what he's doing, though. And this was kind of his first foray into bigger action. And it's a very simple story where you have Treat Williams. He's essentially a mercenary boat driver for hire. Him and his crew are, give us the money and we'll do whatever you need us to do.
Yep.
So we learn that they are taking a group of obviously like less than on the level guys.
We can call them Die Hard 2 characters.
Yep. Yep. A good point. And they're being brought to. They haven't told them where they're going. They just gave them the location. And then we see the giant cruise ship, which is it's supposed to be like the biggest and best out there or whatever. It's like state of the art everything and all that stuff. And Anthony Heald, who owns the ship, he's another guy who's been in everything over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Is basically
most people would know him as the guy from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah,
at the Mental
doctor.
Institute.
Yeah, the doctor.
Yeah.
But something happens aboard that ship.
Mm-hmm.
We get this weird not a crawl, but we get a weird text thing at the beginning about how in the South China Sea, it's so deep that you could fit the, Mount Everest in it and all this stuff. And boats just go missing there all the time with no explanation.
Yeah. It doesn't really have anything to do with how deep the water is. So
it's called deep rising.
True.
So things are rising from the deep.
Right. I blame Deep Rising for the fake movie in Bowfinger called Chubby Rain. Because we had some strange like refrigerator magnet poetry going on with some titles back in the 90s.
Yep. Anyway, we also learned that Famke Janssen is like a pickpocket or thief of some sort. She's on the boat. She gets caught. They lock her up in the food pantry.
Yeah. I don't know why they couldn't lock her in the brig.
Because it wasn't finished yet.
Oh, is that what they said?
Yeah. He goes, do we have this? He's like, this ship has a brig, right? And he's like, yeah, but it's not finished yet.
Oh, okay. Because she said, I know you can't put me in the brig. And I missed. Okay, yeah. That makes sense. I was too busy looking at her, honestly.
Yeah, she looks good. Yeah, this is prime time for her. Actually, kind of early because this is just before this is before House on Haunted Hill, right? That was like 2000. That was like 99, maybe.
Oh, I don't know. Let me see. I'll see. House on.
I'm trying to remember. Like
it was 1959. No, it was 99.
No, so this was post Goldeneye then, because Goldeneye was like her kind of like coming out party.
Yeah.
Pre Jean Grey, pre Like,
right before X-Men, just barely before X-Men, pretty much.
yeah. But she's awesome. She's great. She's obviously gorgeous, but she's also really good in the roles that, like, whenever they put her in something, she always seems to be able to like dial it in and do it.
Well, she like has some kind of reference chart for campiness.
Yeah.
And that chart is dialed in. She knows exactly how much to put in.
You know what she was awesome in is The Faculty.
You know, that's one I don't think I've watched all of.
Really? I actually quite like The Faculty. Anyway, but getting back to Deep Rising. So something happens. We hear some rumbles, some tumbles, and then the boat like gets hit and like things break up and everyone's running for their lives, and then a girl gets sucked down a toilet.
Yeah. That happened.
Yep. But we don't know what happened. And then we cut back to the other boat. And the boat is driving over there. And we see at one point a lifeboat drop from the big one and kind of like just go out to sea. They hit that and damage their nice speedboat thing that they got going on. And so they need to repair it. But so they find out then that they're going to this cruise ship. But all of the power's been turned down for some reason. And there's like weird stuff going on. So they go to board it. And they go in and they find that there's nobody on the boat. There's nobody there when there's a lot of blood.
Yeah.
A lot of blood.
And this is after Event Horizon, so we're like, oh, come on, we've been here already. Let's move it.
Been here, done it. So they start searching the boat. And we also find, I forgot to mention, we find that the guys that had rented the boat to get there were mercenaries that were hired to bring these torpedoes to this other boat and sink this other boat. The big one, the big boat.
Yeah.
So now they just start exploring, and just like every monster movie, things that go bump will eventually show up. And we learn that there is some sort of creature that is aboard this boat, multiples of them, and no real explanations as to what they are, where they came from, or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just there's a noise, and oh no, now we got to deal with this.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's 10 little Indians. There's not much we can do with this, is there?
Yeah. This film rules in the fact that it's a product of 1998.
Yeah.
But it's also really like hurt because it's a product of 1998.
That's a good point.
So if you can get by really hokey, fake looking computer stuff, CGI from this time period.
Yeah, that's most of the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, but this is for 98. This is not great.
No. There are some scenes. I was reading about this, and it's the special effects company that they had hired was not able to deliver what they said they would, or they ran out of time, or people quit. There was something going on. So ILM was brought in at the last minute. So there you go.
All right. Because the creature is very, very ordinary. It's not anything special.
That was the biggest disappointment when you get the full view of it, like its head, and you're like, really? Like, it's a fucking squishy bulldog without fur. What's going on?
Yeah.
It didn't look deep sea aquatic. It looked like a rough draft. And
it also doesn't make any sense, because if it lives deep in the ocean, how is it able to breathe air above? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And how,
it's not a mammal.
Did it use its fucking dive watch to check for depth and time at each level before, so you don't get the bends? Or I know it breathes and it's used to the pressure, but you know what I mean? Yeah. That's what kills most of it is no thought put into the monster.
And the thing is, they could have very easily just hit it longer. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't need to see so much of it so soon.
Yeah, there's a thing that looks exactly like this in Lord of the Rings, and I could honestly, I've watched the movie like 12 times, and I could not tell you what its face looks like. I have an idea, but I don't know if that's its face, and I'm okay with that. So, like, that's what they should have done.
Yeah.
Too many people had taken their cues from Jaws and are like, boo, monster at the end. Nah, that worked for Jaws and Alien. All right. And maybe Aliens when the Queen showed up because nobody was expecting that. But yeah.
Yeah, it falls apart for me once you start to see everything. And the other issue, I don't have any problems with Treat Williams, but Treat Williams as your lead action hero, for whatever reason, just doesn't really work for me. Like, he's just kind of like, I just don't believe him.
Yeah. I was okay with him in this because Benny and House of a Thousand Haunted Corpses or whatever, they carried it for me. Oh, and Wes Studi. Oh my God, the fucking Sphinx. I love that dude. The Mystery Men. People got to watch Mystery Men. He plays a fantastically frustrating character in that film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's just supposed to be I just want to go home. I want to finish my job. Can we just do that? Logical guy while everything's going to hell. And he does okay with that. Right?
Yeah, I know he does all right. Yeah.
You put him with a Joe Piscopo, he's the straight guy.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with him. I think he's got enough charm. He has a different feel than other actors. You know, every actor has a different place they go in your head.
Yeah.
For,
no, I know what you mean.
Roles or attitude or whatever. Yeah. So, yeah, no, but I can definitely see it. He was not an A-list. Let's cast him in this. He unfortunately is a lot of people's second choice.
Or he's the only one that showed up.
True.
All right,
Nicolas Cage
let's give this
still
a
doesn't
grade.
owe a lot of money at this point.
I don't know what else to say about this, so. All right, Chris, do you recommend, what is your grade for Deep Star Rising 6?
Leviathan. I am going to recommend this, and I'm going to say that I had more fun watching this and kind of yelling stupid shit at the movie as it was going than I thought I would. Mid-90s sci-fi is very hit or miss for me.
Yep.
And I wasn't sure because, sea monsters have been done to death, and it's not about the monster in this. It's about watching the three main characters bicker and tell jokes. And that's what got the actor who plays Benny, whose name I can't remember, in The Mummy. This is the movie that got him all his ad-libbing and almost second biggest star of the film because he carried Deep Rising. They look exactly the same. They're related to each other in his universe. I swear to God. And Famke Janssen, who you might think is just a pretty face, she's got some good comedy chops on her when they let her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like. There's something about when she smiles that's when she smiled in this, no matter what the situation was, it's that the character's being honest. And she's not fucking with anybody, and it's just easier to go with. It's nice. I don't know. She has a nice smile. I don't notice that on a lot of people, but I did with her. So I'm gonna give this a B.
All right.
It gets knocked down from a B. Yeah, I had fun. It was just stupid fun. This is the kind of this is around 13 Ghosts. It's a little lower, obviously.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying though.
It's that same kind of campy 90s stuff. And if I'm in the mood for it, this is the right one. So, yeah. Why not?
All right. I'm not going to disagree with you really at all. I'm going to recommend it too because it's dumb fun.
Yeah.
It's a great film to kind of just throw on. You can leave the room for 5 minutes and come back. You haven't missed any story or it's
well, if somebody's missing, you know what happened.
Right. Right.
So.
Exactly. So it's thoroughly fine for all of that. So there's nothing, it's not doing anything great, but it's not really doing anything bad either. I mean, take away the bad CG, but again, 1998, take it with a grain of salt, understand what you're watching.
I mean, I can see the zipper on the back of Ultraman or the creature from the Black Lagoon in a couple of scenes. I'm not going to worry about bad CG if the story is entertaining me.
Yeah, and this entertained me. And it's not, it doesn't hang around too long. It's just, it does what it does exactly what you want it to do.
Oh yeah, it's in and out.
Yeah. So
just like the water.
I'll give it a B too. I'll agree with you on that. I'll give it a B too. Definitely something where if you've never seen it, it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
So speaking of checking out,
Yes.
Joe's back,
All right.
and he is now, like, he was knee deep in the Conjuring universe last week. He's got to be waist deep by this week. Let's see what he's got.
Well, hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation.
Hello.
It's your boy Joe here, and this week Bill took me beyond the Valley of the Doll. Singular. Yeah, right, this movie wishes it was as good as Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, and that movie isn't even really that good. He made me watch Annabelle Creation. I swear it's like they created an entire cinematic universe just to put all the things that piss me off about big studio horror in there. Stretches of time longer than a calculus lecture where nothing fucking happens? Check. Being given an R rating so soft that I wouldn't have to take a melatonin or put on a breathe right strip to fall asleep on it? Check. Only having the imagination to pull off 2, maybe 3 decent scares over 90 minutes? Check. And the worst thing on the list, having all the tools in your toolbox to build a recreation of a 1948 Isamu Noguchi coffee table, but giving me something from IKEA? Checkity fucking check. I'd like it noted that I've gone into every one of these so far hoping they'd be good. I didn't do the exaggerated snark just for a laugh, as I'm prone to do. And while you're not wrong to possibly accuse me of just not generally liking demon movies, I don't dislike them. I'll take The Exorcist over Chariots of Fire. Not sure why I picked Chariots of Fire there, but the point stands. That's just where my brain went. Here's a real quick list of demon movies that I like and or love. The Exorcism of Emily Rose added a cool courtroom drama aspect to the demonic horror movie. Drag Me to Hell is a really fun Raimi throwback. Paranormal Activity, but just the first one. Hey, look at me. Only the first one.
I'm going to watch part 3.
Idle Hands is a spectacular demonic comedy. Prince of Darkness, even though I understood very little of it, was great. The first 3 Night of the Demons films, I love those. Fallen, the one with Denzel Washington.
Ooh, I like that.
And, what's his face? That's great. And I couldn't remember his name. The guy from Roseanne, her husband. John Goodman.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah. What am I doing? And lastly, The Taking of Deborah Logan was really great. They're all my shit. Though needless to say, the only ghost I'm really interested in, I'm going to see at Van Andel Arena this July in Grand Rapids.
God damn it.
And now for something
Hope
that
you like cowbells.
wasn't really my shit, but was more my shit than the rest of the shit in this series. Anthony LaPaglia and Miranda Otto are raising their daughter in a house way bigger and nicer than you would typically see in what appears to be the California high desert. Like they're out in like Needles, California. Should be just a bunch of meth trailers out there. And dang, the kid gets the Pet Cemetery treatment. They're changing a tire, kid steps out, wham bam, pow. Gross. As fantastic as Miranda Otto typically is in anything she's in, Anthony LaPaglia here does mopey dad grumping around as good as you've ever seen. I mean, it's like they caught this character just after Batista won the Royal Rumble in 2014 instead of Daniel Bryan. I don't stay mad about a lot of stuff, but that's one of them. And since they're now empty nesters in the most unfortunate way, and the local orphanage closed down, the universe tends to unfold as it should, and there's a gaggle of girls aged maybe 10 to 16, and they're some of the wisest characters in horror history, because they are all appropriately sketched out by Colonel Sadpants and Sergeant Phantom Wife. I forgot to mention that they're kayfabing Miranda Otto through half this film with her bed covered by an opaque curtain and like, you can't see me. Like she's in a Tennessee Williams play or something, like she has TB. But yeah, the girls are appropriately sketched out through like pretty much all of the beginning of this. And then for good reason later on. Mercifully, they only wasted some of my time meandering their way towards introducing the baddie. They still wandered around it like I wander around the grocery store on a day I forgot to take my Adderall, just less than the other CU films. It should be noted, this is maybe only the second time in a horror film that I've seen one of those chairlift staircase gimmicks used. The first one was?
Gremlins.
Anyone?
Gremlins.
Anyone?
Mrs. Deagle.
Bueller? Gremlins.
Deagle!
Marking maybe the first time I laughed at an on-screen death, because watching that old bitch get launched up her stairs and out a window like a goddamn trebuchet was and still is hysterical.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Gremlins is one of my Christmas time movies. I have to watch it like every December.
Yep.
Here, it's more ominous and actually pretty well done. One of the orphans is a polio survivor, and it's rare when I see someone on screen and I think, hey, finally, someone that I could beat in a foot race. Anyway, they use the chairlift thing. They're really creepy. She gets like, she's trying to get away, but it's all slow and like the whole creeping torment thing. It's great. There's lots of tormenting, and the scares build like they should. And I honestly enjoyed this more than any of the CU movies so far, but don't get excited. It was still just God, it's right where okay meets good. Like, just okay is okay and good, and it's right where, like, I like my steaks right where rare meets medium rare. This was right where just okay meets good.
Okay.
That's fair.
The spoiler alert ending, and I mean it, spoiler alert, was actually really cool. They kind of did like what they did in the last Final Destination film. We're going through this whole movie wondering how this farmhouse in the middle of nowhere and all these girls and a nun and whatever are here in the early 50s connects with the whole thing. Like Sad Empire Records dad and Miranda Otto, who went from a 9 to a 6 after half of her face gets ripped off, made a deal with a demon to get their daughter back after she died. And making a deal like that is like hiring a South African Bond villain with Asperger's and a ketamine addiction to make your government efficient. They're just going to do what they want to do, and you're going to pay for it a lot. So the demon was in the doll, and it's now possessing the polio girl, who gets adopted by a nice couple. A decade or so later, and then wham, bam, thank you, Charlie Manson, polio girl is the hippie who murders her parents and ends up getting 86'd like the less popular dinner special in the first Annabelle film. And it was a really cool way they connected it. I might not have done it justice, because the 10-minute wrap-up at the end of the movie that explains it is maybe the best 10 minutes of any of these movies so far. Here's the thing. The good. Great. Great, not twist, but reveal ending. It's a great reveal.
Okay.
There's a few really good scares. There's especially one in a barn with a girl and a scarecrow. And it reminded me of that scene in Session 9 when the guy who's afraid of the dark is in that like basement hallway, and like the lights start to go out and he's running scared shitless, and like the lights are blowing out behind him as if the darkness is chasing him. It's like that good.
Yeah, that was
Also Anthony LaPaglia. The bad. Remember how last week I was griping about everything in horror being beige? Most of this movie, like 95% of this movie, takes place in the high desert of California in the 1950s. It's more beige than 4 out of 5 pairs of shorts in Boca Raton. Annabelle Creation was a bit of a surprise, so I'm going to give it a C+. I'll be back next week with The Nun, which I know almost nothing about. Ha! That was terrible. Don't laugh at that.
That was, I like it.
Maybe I'll be surprised again.
No.
And someone listening is probably laughing at my naiveness here.
Yep.
I am.
Until then, be good, everyone.
Fair.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I gotta bring up Scott's segment here. I'm not prepared. I was too busy trying to tell the dog to shut up.
I know, huh?
Yeah. Where are we at? 896. What's going on here?
Nobody has any idea what's going on at all.
No, I mean it is what it is. All right. Here we go.
Okay.
Reverend Scott, your mission, should you choose to accept it.
I decline. No, not happening.
Holy shit.
With Reverend Scott. Oi, let me give you something straight from the Barbie.
Hey there, Bill and Chris. This is Reverend Scott.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
And this is a monumental moment in spy film history. Tom Cruise-led Mission Impossible movies have survived in the theaters for the last 29 straight years.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
In 2023, we had Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. This year, we have the finale, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2. Wait, no. The Final Reckoning? What the fuck? Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. But I have to be honest here, I only have a few minutes and this movie is kind of dense. I debated on not even doing it at all.
If you're not doing it, we hate you, we hope you die. But we'll have a drink at the pub when we see you, all right?
All right, fine, we'll do it. God, where do I start?
At the beginning.
I guess I've always been a fan of this series. Enough to see every entry in the theater, usually on the first weekend they released. Part 3 has always kind of been a standout in the series for me. I mean, we had Philip Seymour Hoffman as the bad guy, Lawrence Fishburne breathing down Ethan's neck, Simon Pegg joined the team in this movie. It felt like a pivotal point in the series.
Just a tiny, tiny bit.
And while they sometimes have very emotional beats or plot twists, these movies still feel like, well, they kind of feel like the Final Destination series. Only instead of horror comedy, we got action thrillers. The plot really only exists to take characters to different places and to get them into that next huge action set piece. So much, in fact, that there's a rumor going around that they film some of the action scenes first before they even know how it fits into the script.
Did you know that?
No.
So a quick recap of Dead Reckoning Part 1 from 2023. There's a killer AI technology called the Entity. Don't worry, you won't forget that name in this one. They probably say it 600,000 times. The Entity is so powerful that every nation in the world wants it, and the only way to control it is to get a special key that gives you access to the AI's source code, which conveniently is placed inside the special room that the key opens that's on a submarine that's partially destroyed, sitting at the bottom of one of the oceans somewhere in the world. The Entity is using a man named Gabriel to kind of carry out some of the deeds that it can't do itself, so it can accomplish its ultimate goal, which we can only assume is to keep the key and control away from everyone else, and of course, world domination. When we last left Ethan, he had acquired this key and now needs to find this submarine so he can get control of the Entity. That was only 2 months ago for Ethan, but for us, it's been 2 fucking years. But don't worry about that. The Final Reckoning has plenty of flashbacks and exposition to explain what you likely forgot.
Yeah, you remember that.
I do remember that.
All that's really important now is that Ethan has the key, and the government wants him to find the sub and get the source code so they can control the AI. Of course, I don't think Ethan really wants them to do that, but we'll deal with that later. And Gabriel has allowed the Entity to communicate with the outside world enough to start taking over the nuclear arsenal of several major countries. If something doesn't happen soon, the Entity will have full control and could start World War III anytime it wanted to.
Like, I wanted to throw up. Because, god damn it.
Luckily, Luther has created a poison pill, so to speak, to insert into the source code and effectively kill the AI. He made it so it would slide right into the source code thing even though he's never seen it before. Cool how that works. But Ethan has to first find it and go get it. And that's, remember in the submarine at the bottom of the ocean, and they don't even really know where that's at. And he's got to stay alive while doing it. that's kind of secondary. We spend our time between our black female president and her cabinet deciding if they should do a preemptive nuke. And then there's Ethan, and he's in another submarine captained by Tremel Tillman, which you may know as Mr. Milchek on Severance. Oh. He's playing the coolest, most chill naval officer ever filmed on camera. He calls Ethan Mr. all the time, and it's an absolute joy to watch him. I'm not shitting you. He's fucking great. And why does he call Ethan Mr.? We may never know.
That's a noun, and it means things.
It does.
Jesus Christ.
It's a noun that means things.
We also have Agent Carter herself, Haley Atwell, along with a French assassin cleverly named Paris. They're working together with Simon Pegg. They're all on the side quest that, well, I won't spoil that, but it's pretty cool on who they meet on their little journey. But all of these things kind of go parallel to each other until they finally come to a head. I said head.
Why are you being so weird, dude?
Ethan seemingly fights, swims, climbs, and especially runs for like 96 straight hours. We never see him eat. He never takes a piss. He never really sleeps, unless he's unconscious. He's basically a 63-year-old spy robot. Or he's possibly on a mixture of Ritalin and cocaine. It's hard to be sure.
I'm not saying he's wrong or right.
Yep.
There's an underwater sequence that's fucking mind-blowing. There's a sequence involving prop planes and Ethan climbing around, and that is, awe-inspiring. I just don't quite know how they did it. It all seemed pretty fucking real. And the final third of this film is so tense and action-packed, that's worth the price of admittance alone. But here's the thing. Final Reckoning is not all sunshine and roses as far as a movie-going experience is concerned. I know I've been all positive so far, but it's time to get real. I have a lot of problems with this movie.
They did a good job of hiding it for quite a while.
That's true.
First of all, this movie is 2 hours and 50 fucking minutes,
Jesus.
Which if you include trailers and Nicole Kidman and all the other things that happen before the movie starts, you're going to be in there for well over 3 fucking hours, which sounds really long, and it is. Hell, this movie is 7 minutes longer than Dead Reckoning Part 1. However, it should have been longer. And what I mean by that is the amount of information dumps, location and costume changes, and character reveals is just edited in a way that made it feel like a fucking fever dream.
You took it too far, man.
It's almost dizzying to watch. The initial setup in this legitimately felt like it was a 10-episode season of a series edited down to like 90 minutes. Like one scene, Luther was in his bunker making the poison pill, and the next scene, he's like deathly ill in bed with tubes in his nose, and then Ethan is in dirty clothes underground 1 minute, and the next minute he's at a fancy party in a tux. Then they go to a facility in the snow, and then they come out and they're in the jungle. I was just starting to wonder if buying a ticket to this movie was a mistake.
You were an idiot. You lost money. Pay attention next time.
Right.
I know this was kind of meant to be the part 2 to Dead Reckoning's part 1, but honestly, I think they should have pulled a Harry Potter or a Hunger Games and like extended this movie and then split it up into 2 final movies.
Let's just make another one.
I'm not gonna lie, even though it's not confusing to follow the plot or the characters' motivations, the structure and the editing of this movie, at least the first half, was basically a mess. I wonder if this is just another example of a person, like Tom Cruise having so much power that nobody dared to tell him no, and he's so confident and passionate that he just couldn't see any of the problems with it either.
So, you didn't think you were going to get any pushback on that? Like, really?
So maybe you'll see this movie and completely disagree with me. Maybe you'll say,
fuck you.
Maybe on a second watch for me, it won't feel so frantically edited. Maybe it'll flow better. Maybe I'll think that I was...
My mouth won't make that sound.
I'll think that I wasn't right. But for the moment, I stand by my assessment. but I also stand by the beginning of my review in that the action, Tramiel Tillman, Agent Carter, there's a surprise character, and all the cool ties to the previous parts in the series that they kind of retcon into this final reckoning more than make up for the failings of the first 90 minutes or so. The final sequence of events will literally leave you on the edge of your seat for like 30 straight minutes. And sure, they say the title, The Final Reckoning, in the script several times in this movie by several different characters, and like your suspension of disbelief needs to be on overdrive in dozens of scenes, but you'll always be left thinking,
that was almost ridiculous. But it wasn't, which was weird.
So overall, I do recommend you see Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Whether you're a fan of the films, action movies in general, Tom Cruise, or just have a nagging need to finish this series, you'll enjoy it. Since this is the finale to the series, I'll be generous and I'll give it a B-. Wow, that review is almost as long as the fucking movie was. I almost don't have time to grade your reviews of Jalopy and you two, but I'll do it anyway. Gallipoli, that movie was a fun discussion. Between the highly accurate Australian accents and how disturbed you seem to be over the movie ending on a freeze frame reminiscent of Sleepaway Camp, I enjoyed it, and I give it a B+. As far as Utu, you didn't seem to have a lot to talk about, except for you didn't like that the guy wore a hat. Although I did enjoy that you talked about his hair looking like Superfly Jimmy Snuka's. Although, after you mentioned him, things seemed to get a bit awkward.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, I wonder why.
I know.
Slightly above average review, so I give it a C+. Well, that's about all I got for this week. So until the next movie where Tom Cruise runs 743 straight miles on his 70th birthday, peace and love, guys. If you need to hear a great cult movie podcast, you know where to find us.
Where's Smash Palace? Is that in Bone Town?
What?
Never mind.
Thank you for listening to the show. If you want to join our Patreon, patreon.com/outsidethecinema. I think we may be through the movies. We do have some top 6 lists I got to go back and look through and see if we can build some content off of that. But if you want to hang out, go to Facebook. We have a group there. If you want to just reach out to us, you can DM us on Instagram at Cthulhu and at OTC Bill.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. My dog wants to go out for a walk, and I need to pee.
Sounds good.
So everyone have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.